Hello, and welcome to your Balkanweek. This is a special edition because we have the World Cup going on, and doesn't everybody enjoy the World Cup? It's a chance to see some of the greatest football teams in the world competing with one another, all of the supporters coming together, a chance for people from different places in the world to learn about each other, enjoy one another's company. It's all really pretty great, except for the stuff that's not. And what's some of the stuff that's not? Well, for example, during this last weekend's match between Croatia and Canada, there was, as there always is several times during these tournaments, an ugly incident. It was one where a group of Croatian fans started ridiculing a Canadian player of Serbian background. The Serbian player responded in kind. So one more ugly incident. I mean, they will both end up getting penalties, and it'll make the experience a little bit less pleasant for everybody involved. And you might respond to this by saying, well, why not leave the politics out of the football? That the choice of teams to support is not a political choice, even if it has political elements. This is, of course, a ridiculous, pointless suggestion. You can't leave the politics out of the football. There really is no football without politics. I mean, one of the things that makes this kind of sporting competition appealing is the idea that the teams and the supporters have a kind of representative qualities. They're representative of states for which they compete, of localities. Very often, different teams are taken as being representative of different ethnic groups, and so on. And this is an essential part of the competition. I mean, it's one of the ways in which this kind of athletic competition serves as a metaphorical substitute for war, and most people would agree that it's probably better than war if they have a chance. So there's no football without the politics. But when we're talking about politics on this level, I mean, politics is not just a collection of national and ethnic symbols. It's not a question of the flags or slogans that somebody displays or the gestures that they make or something like this, even what they believe. Politics is structural, and that's one of the things that makes this World Cup competition relatively unique, is the high degree to which the politics of the competition are structured. This is partly because of the location in which the competition is being held. I mean, in an authoritarian state with a lot of laws structured by religious belief that are very strictly enforced, and in a part of the world that hasn't hosted this competition before. So you've not only got these elements, but some other ones too. You know, we can talk about labor relations, and we can talk about class and global relations. The building of the facilities where this tournament is being held involved the death of at least 2,500 people. That is, workers working on building these facilities, many of whom were working under what looked like were not entirely healthy or necessarily voluntary conditions. We can talk about politics on the level of freedom, the kind of expression, the kind of consumption, the kind of display that is encouraged and very strongly discouraged at the competition, not only among the supporters coming to attend, but in the players as well, and not only in the relationship between these groups of people and the state that is hosting it, but also the institution that is organizing the competition, the famous FIFA. And of course, here we can also talk about the question of equality and discrimination, especially as this relates to gender and sexuality. And then there's this whole other dimension because FIFA is famously one of the most corrupt organizations on earth. This is a story in itself. We don't need to talk about it separately, but this always stands in the background. Now, why does this matter? And why does this especially matter for people from the part of the world that we're concerned about? People from the part of the world that is in kind of semi-periphery of Europe. I think that the key to this is in the central term of World Cup, not cup, but world. That is, the World Cup is a form of participation in the world. It's a representation of the world, and it stands for both the appeal and the perils and the horrors of the world. So I think that for many of the people coming from, especially states that are not the most powerful ones in the world, to participate in the World Cup, they see the competition as a reflection of the promise of the world, and especially of the most powerful parts of the world, and also of the failure of this promise. And this is a part of the world where people are coming from, where people are accustomed to failed promises, where they were promised liberation, they were promised socialism, they were promised national liberation. Now they're promised liberalism and capitalism. All of these promises are failed, and they are somehow all joined together, both the promise and the failure to achieve this promise, in this massive spectacle of sport and entertainment and tourism and fellowship and so on that is presented in the form of the World Cup. So I think one of the things that means, one of the reasons why we are able to experience an event like this with a lot of pleasure and also with a lot of regret, is because both of these things are present in the spectacle the same way that they're present in the contemporary world. That is to say, it is an event that is, for better and also for worse, perfectly representative.